Hey Facebook peeps, so I am here to do another video today. It's not going to be on Tantra, it's going to be on authenticity and coaching and where I feel the future of coaching is at in this industry. And so some people are probably like, what makes you an expert, right? Well, I'm not an expert on anything, but I am a projector design type in human design theory. And for anyone who's not familiar with human design, the projectors are the guides. We're here to guide people because we can see the bigger picture. We can see how things work, how energy moves, so we can offer guidance from that perspective. So that's what I'm kind of here to do, not really, tell people how to coach or what to do, but just from my perspective and insight as to what I see going on in the industry and what needs to change, like what can change to help people in a better way, to be more authentic in this industry. And that's the key, is authenticity. As coaches, we throw that word around a lot, but a lot of people don't really practice it. They don't really embody it, So on a daily basis, I'll go on Facebook and I'll see like a half a dozen people doing Facebook Lives, and I'll pop on for a minute, and I see a minute or two of what they're saying, and I'm like, well, that's the same shit that the last coach was talking about. And it's like we all go through the same coaching certifications and NLP certifications, and we're learning all these same techniques and tools. We're all getting the same knowledge. And so what I see coaches doing is just throwing out knowledge. They're just throwing knowledge at people and saying, let me help you, let me do this, let me do that, sign up for my program. And they're not really offering wisdom. And wisdom only comes from experience, okay? So if you're not sharing your experiences with your clients, then they can't really connect with you authentically. And I look at it as like, if I'm going to go pay a personal trainer, I'm probably going to hire the one that's on a thick side, somebody that's been struggling with their weight their whole life, so they understand the struggle, as opposed to the guy or girl that's been an athlete their whole life and always had a perfect body and never had to struggle. They can throw knowledge at me, but they can't throw me wisdom from their experience because they didn't have the experience. It's the same thing with sex trauma victims. If you are going to go to someone, you want them to have experience, right? This is what separates coaches from therapists, right? Is knowledge versus wisdom and experience. Yet so many coaches are falling into that trap of thinking that they're therapists and thinking that they need to prescribe, basically, to come at people with this textbook clinical perspective of, try this, try that. It's no different than if you go to a mental health therapist. They're going to sit down with you, they're going to listen to your problems, and then they're going to give you a pill, or they're going to tell you, this is what you need to do. But you're never going to hear a therapist tell you, yeah, I was raped too, so I understand what you're going through because I was there, I did it, I went through it. Because in their world, that's unprofessional. It's unprofessional for you as a therapist to tell a client that you were raped or you were abused or any. You're not supposed to share that kind of stuff as a mental health therapist because you're licensed and you're just there for them, to listen to them and diagnose them and treat them and give them a pill or some kind of remedy to make them better. That's not what we are. We're not therapists. We're coaches. And we're here to share our experiences. And this is what separates us from those people in the medical profession, is that, we can talk about our experiences because we're not tied to a license. We're not told that that's unethical or unprofessional to tell someone that we were raped too, or abused, or bullied and beaten. it's okay for us to share those experiences because we're not therapists, we're coaches. So let's start acting like coaches, okay? And let's start sharing our experiences from a place of authenticity instead of trying to act like we're a therapist, right? That we have all the answers and all the wisdom when we don't have any wisdom. You know, if you're not sharing your experiences, then you don't have wisdom. You have knowledge. So it's really time that we understand the difference. And, you know, if anyone's ever read my blogs, you know that I overshare. Like, I share a lot. Some people are like, why would you go there? Why would you talk about that? That's really personal. Well, I do that because even though there might be 99 people that read that and go, oh God, why would she share something like that? There's going to be that one that reads it and goes, oh wow, you know, that really hit home for me. You know, I'm really glad somebody else thinks that way or has experienced that, and I'm not the only one. That's why I write it. You know, I share my experiences because, for one, it's therapy for me. It helps me get it all out and, you know, and express it in some kind of way. But it also may help someone else. And if it just helps one person, it was worth it, you know? So, you know, for me, like, I'm going to share something really personal here that I've never actually written about or shared publicly. And it's silly, but yeah, I've never learned how to ride a bike. And, you know, I had an overprotective mom that basically wouldn't let me ride the bike out of her sight. So, you know, half the block to the other end of the block, that was about as far as I could go. So the first time they took those training wheels off and I fell and I hurt myself, I was like, fuck this. I'm going back to my Barbies. I'm not getting on that bike again. I had no reason to. I couldn't go anywhere. So I never learned. And, you know, as I got older, I never had a reason to because I had people driving me everywhere. So it just wasn't something that I ever cared to learn. And I always felt so embarrassed about that. I felt so awkward. Like, am I the only person my age, you know, the only grown-up that doesn't know how to ride a bike? And then years ago, I was talking to one of my friends, and I don't know how we got on the subject, but I shamefully admitted, I don't know how to ride a bike. And she goes, neither do I. Like, what? Seriously? So in that moment, we had that little bonding thing because, you know, we both felt a little less ridiculous. Like, okay, we're not the only ones that don't know how to ride a bike. You know, and it's just little things like that that connect you with your client and, you know, and that they can resonate with you on something, you know. So don't be afraid to share stuff, even if you think it's ridiculous and won't be of benefit to someone. Sometimes it is, you know. I mean, and in reality, like, that thing that you have inside of you that you are absolutely terrified to share because you're afraid of being judged, or that it's going to make you seem less qualified as a coach, that you know, you just don't want to be judged about. You're so terrified to share it. That's probably the real thing, the main thing that other people need to hear in order to facilitate their own healing. And it's probably the thing that you most need to share and reveal to facilitate your own healing. Because, you know, a lot of times coaches act like they got it all figured out. You know, they know it all. They've been through the training, they know it all, and they don't need to, you know, go any further in their own shadow work. But if you're a coach that sees other coaches crying on their Facebook Live or sharing too much personal stuff, and you get uncomfortable with that, or you get triggered by that, well, then you need to, like, sit with that and understand why. What is it that makes you so uncomfortable? Is it because, you know, you're not able to share at that level of authenticity because you're still wearing your mask and terrified that you can't let people see that you're not perfect? You know, a lot of coaches will admit to character flaws and they'll admit to physical flaws, but they won't admit to mental flaws or emotional flaws, because that makes them feel like they're going to be perceived as weak or less credible in the work that they're doing. But in actuality, it's going to make you more credible, because, you know, whatever it is that you've been through, if you're bipolar, if you're suffering with depression, if you have personality disorders, yeah, there's going to be people that are going to be like, whoa, you know, I don't really want to work with that person. But there's going to be people that are like, whoa, that person understands where I'm at and what I'm going through and what I'm trying to work through, so I want to work with that person, right? And we most often give the advice that we need to hear. So, you know, like attracts like. So if you're a coach that is not going deep, that you're just throwing knowledge at your clients, well, you're going to attract those clients. You're going to attract the clients that don't really want to go too deep, that just want you to throw some knowledge at them. They want to know the quick fix. They want to know what they can do to have a better sex life, how they can make more money, how they can have better communication in their relationship. You know, they want the quick fix. They don't really want to go deep into their shadow and dive in there and see what they have to do to heal themselves. So they're going to seek out a coach that is operating on that same level, that's saying, you know, check out this program or do this, or, you know, do that. If the coach isn't going deep and the coach isn't sharing their experiences and the wisdom gained from those experiences, well, then the clients that don't really want to go there are going to be attracted to that coach. They're going to be like, well, yeah, you know, give me some knowledge. But then you have clients that really want to heal themselves. They really want to do the shadow work. They want to go deep. They want to explore who they are. And they're going to seek out the coaches that are authentic and putting that out there, that, you know, that are sharing, hey, I was abused. I was bullied in school. I was overweight. I was broke and homeless. Like, they want to hear those stories because that's what's going to help bond them to you. You know, like, for me personally, my hustle has always been that I'm not a hustler. You know, in my 20s, I worked as a stripper. A lot of people that know me already know that because I've written about it many times. But in my 20s, I was a stripper, and my hustle was that I wasn't a hustler. So if a customer walked in the bar, I'd go to his table and I'd say, I'd introduce myself and I'd say, would you like some company? And majority of the time they would say, no, I'm just gonna relax a little while, because they're coming in to spend money. So they want to take their time and they want to see what's there. They want to look at all the girls and they want to make a decision. So I wouldn't push. I would just be like, okay, well, I'll be at the bar, and if you want some company, just, get the waitress to come get me. And I'd watch as stripper after stripper went to this guy and gave them the hard sell, like, you need to buy me a drink, or let's do a dance. Or someone would just jump right in their lap and say, hey, sexy, let's go to VIP. Let's go have some fun. And the guys always gave them the same answer, no thanks, I'm just going to chill for a while. So after they got the hard sell for like a dozen girls, they'd send the waitress over to get me. And I'd go sit down with them and I'd have a conversation with them. And that's how I made my money, because I treated them like a human being and not a walking wallet. And that's what these women were looking at these guys as, like, oh, look at his watch, look at his shoes. Is he drinking $2 draft beers? He's not going to spend any money. Don't bother with him. And I never thought that way. I sat down with people, talked to them, and that's what they were there for. They're there to look at naked women, but they're also there to feel like a person, of value. They want to feel like the girl talking to them is genuinely interested in what they have to say. They're feeling seen and heard and valued. Then they're going to spend their money with you. I had a guy come in one day. He was a 21-year-old college student, raggedy clothes, backpack, He was drinking $2 draft beers. No stripper in the club would go talk to him. They were like, no, he's not going to spend any money. Don't waste your time. I sat with him, started talking to him. After just a little while of hearing about his school and what he was doing and what he was there for, he's like, hey, I want to do some dances, and he sent me to get another girl because he wanted 2 girls. So I go get another stripper, and she's like, I don't want to waste my time with this dude. He's not going to spend any money. Trust me. Just come over here with me. Like, I just knew. So she came, she sat down with me. We sat there and talked for a few more minutes. And he ended up spending $2,000 that night between the two of us. So he had money, and he was willing to spend it, but he wanted to spend it with people that were treating him like a person, not an empty wallet that had no value. And so I take that same approach into my massage therapy practice. Like, I've never hustled my clients. Everybody that's ever gotten a massage, that there's this little spot in your back that when a therapist hits it, it's like a clunk. And every client has the same reaction initially. They're like, oh my God, what is that? Is that a knot? What is that? Well, an unethical and uneducated therapist will tell you, oh yeah, that's a huge knot, And then the client says, well, what do I got to do to get rid of it? And the therapist will say, well, if you come in like every week for a while, we can work on that and, work it out. And it's bullshit. And like every time I hear a therapist say this in a couple session, it just burns me. Like, I'm like, oh my God, you're just such a fraud, because all they're trying to do is ensure that client comes back every week to give them money. And they're not being real. They're not, telling the client the truth. So when a client asks me, how often do you think I should come in? I got to get rid of that knot. I was like, that's not a knot. That's where all the stuff attaches. It's not going anywhere. Everybody has that. You can get a massage every day. It's not going anywhere. And when they say, well, how often should I get a massage? I'll say, generally 1 to 2 times a month, depending. I look at their body. I scan their body. I see where they're at physically, emotionally, what kind of stress they're dealing with, what kind of job they have, and how physically active they are. So I take all of that into consideration. And for most people, it's 1 to 2 times a month. Every now and then I'll get somebody that's just super jacked up, and I'm like, yeah, you need to be in here every week. But the people that I tell 1 to 2 times a month generally end up coming to me weekly because they love the body work that I do. And I didn't lie to them. I didn't try to sell them something. They felt like, okay, yeah, I could trust this person because they're not just trying to sell me something and get my money. They're genuinely interested in helping me. And so then I take that same approach into my coaching. I'm not a hustler. That's my hustle, right? So I'm here to help people. I'm not going to push people. I'm not going to use those scarcity mentality scare tactics like, oh, you got to get in, I got 2 more spots left in my program. You got to hurry up and get in. It's sales, it's marketing. And people know that. People realize, well, most people do. Some people don't. But, the kind of people that I want to draw to me as clients are people that want to go deep, that want to go into their shadow and heal. And they don't want just the quick fix. They don't want some knowledge thrown at them. Because even in massage therapy, the people that have all this knowledge that they're throwing around, this is the supraspinatus muscle, and this is this and that, and they're throwing out terminology. When they touch you, their massage sucks. So, right? So the people that are like, oh shit, I've been doing this 17 years. I really got to think about that origin and insertion and those words because I haven't used them since I've been out of school, right? I've just been doing the work. I've been putting my hands on people and doing the work. So I'm not going to just throw you a bunch of knowledge. I'm going to do the work based on my experience of touching people and their body and their energy. So that's where I work from. I've been therapist 17 years. The knowledge is there in my head, but I really got to dig for it because I don't use it every day. But I'm using the wisdom every day. I'm using the experience every day. And so that's what, what's the approach that I take into my coaching is that I'm working from a place of wisdom and experience, not knowledge. I'm not going to sit here and throw you a bunch of NLP techniques or coaching techniques or, all this terminology that I learned, because it means nothing to my clients. What means something to my clients is my experience. How can I help you based on my experience? And when coaches really get that and understand that people want your experience, they don't want your perfection. People can't relate to perfection, right? So if you're a coach that's up here, like, I'm perfect, I got it all together, I got it all figured out, like you're a therapist, but your client is down here, they're not really relating to you, right? They're just seeing you kind of as a therapist. And if they wanted a therapist, they could go to a therapist and it'd probably be a lot cheaper, right? Because their insurance would pay for it, and they'd probably get some good drugs out of it. So they're not coming to you to be their therapist, right? They're coming to you for your experience. So when you start sharing your experience, you come down to their level and they suddenly see you as their equal, as someone that is there to help them and not just, throw some knowledge at them and take their money, right? So share your shadow. Be willing to sit in that shadow, in that darkness with your client, because for most of them, they're never going to find their way out of there unless they're with someone that's been there, that knows the way out, right? So if you know the way out, or you're even still trying to figure the way out, you're in a better position to help them than somebody who's never been there that's just going to throw them some knowledge on how they think you should get out, right? Take this pill or do this or do that, or whatever the therapist does. We're not therapists. We're not here to help people from that level. We're here to help people from our experience, right? So yeah, so take my advice for what it's worth, but this is where I come from with my approach, and it may not get me a lot of clients. I'm not one of those fake it till you make it kind of people. So, I'm not trying to make it sound like I got it all together or I've got a shit ton of clients. I don't show up on Facebook Live with, sunshine shooting out my asshole. I'm me. This is me. So sometimes I may not be all happy-go-lucky. Sometimes I might be a little gloomy, and, it's a Scorpio thing, I guess. Some days I'm just down, some days I'm up. But I'm going to share from my place of authenticity and experience. And if it resonates with people, then so be it. And if it doesn't, then so be it. But you got to be willing to share that experience if you want those kind of clients. And if you're not a coach that really wants to go deep with yourself or your clients, well, then what you're doing might be working for you. Keep doing it. We all got to do what we got to do that works for us. But the way I see the coaching industry, where it's going to go is the people that are going to thrive in this industry, that are going to survive, because, coaches come and go, right? People jump in, they're just looking for a quick way to make money. But if you're here to actually genuinely help people and you're passionate about it, then you have to come at it from a place of authenticity, and you have to be willing to be raw, and you have to be willing to share your experiences and not give a damn what the outcome is, So you may lose a lot of clients. The way I see it is, if 100 people read about or hear my experience and 99 are like, oh God, I don't want to work with her. But one person says, wow, that really resonated with me, and that's really going to help me. I want to work with you. That's all that matters. All that matters is that one person that you're going to help, because when you help them transform their life, then they're going to go tell everybody that they know who helped them. And then you're going to keep attracting the right people into your life. So when you align with your design, when you align with who you are, when you align with your authenticity and reveal those parts of yourself that are scary and, that you think people are going to judge, let them judge. But once you do that, once you fully open yourself to being who you are and you align, you're going to draw the right people into your life and the right experiences and the right opportunities. And it may take time, right? Like, I'm a firm believer in slow and steady wins the race. So, that's my approach to it. So take my advice for what it's worth. Hopefully it'll help somebody. I'd like to see more coaches really going deep and expressing their experiences and talking about that, because that's what sells me. If I'm looking at a Facebook Live, I don't want to hear the same coaching terminology that everybody else is throwing out there and the same stuff. I want the person that's sharing how they were bullied or how they were molested or how they, whatever their experience was, that they're just raw and emotional and they're crying and it's real. That's what I'm attracted to, is real, not this image of perfection, because I can't live up to the idea of perfection. I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect. I'm always a work in progress. And if I'm going to spend my money with a coach, I want them to be a work in progress, because I can identify with them. If I want perfect, if I want somebody that I think has it all together and all the knowledge to just fix me, then I'll go to a psychiatrist, right? They can just throw me some drugs and, a quick fix and I'll be okay. But that's not what I want. I want to hear people's experiences. I want that sense of community and bonding. Like, yeah, I get that. I've been there. Thank you for sharing that. Like, that's what people need to hear, not knowledge. Knowledge, it's good to have knowledge. We need it, but you need to have the wisdom and the experience with it, because knowledge doesn't know the way. Wisdom knows the way. Experience knows the way. Pain knows the way. And you know the way. So are you going to be brave enough to show people the way? Or are you going to keep hiding and trying to look perfect? So that's my 2 cents for today. Y'all have a great day.